Welcome, everybody, to our June edition of the virtual book discussion group. And today is a Read What You Want book club. So thanks, everyone, for letting me know that last week was no good for many of us. And we've postponed ourselves to this week. And without further ado, Toby has some books to tell us about.
I'm returning 3 books today when they come to pick up the books.
Mm-hmm.
One is by Delia Ephron called Left on 10th.
You gotta love the Ephrons.
Yeah, this is Nora's sister. And it tells the whole story of how when she got sick and she struggled through several years of hospitals and getting, she had, oh, here we go again with the forgetting of the words.
You make me feel good, Toby. Thank you.
Oh my God, it drives me insane. Leukemia.
Mm-hmm.
She got leukemia, and her whole story, how she did it. But at the same time, she was in her early 70s and she met this gentleman and they started writing to each other. And before you knew it, they had a relationship, started living together, and he was very good and he helped her through everything. So it was, I didn't think that that I was going to like it because it talked about illness a lot, but I learned a lot about the illness and what she had to do and things like that.
You read a lot of memoirs, hey, Toby?
I read memoirs, yeah. Here's
I
another
do too.
one. Here's another one.
Enjoy
True.
that.
This was the book that they had her come and speak. I think it was
Oh,
in March,
right.
but I
Yeah.
didn't have a chance to get there.
But that's
So
fiction,
April.
right? That's a novel.
Excuse me, it was in April and they made it into a movie and I was there. And then she spoke, the author and the director or the producer. They were both there and they were answering our questions. It was really good.
Yeah, very good.
So she talks about coming from Vietnam, and I'm trying to think of where they put them.
They
Somewhere up north.
Were they in Sherbrooke?
No, it wasn't Sherbrooke, but somewhere down there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
not up north, Carol. No.
Down south.
And
But
how
yeah.
kind the community was. It was amazing how they were welcomed by the community.
It's a
Yes.
novel, though, right?
Yes.
It's not a memoir. It's like
She
based on
tells-
true, but it's fictionalized.
Is it fictionalized?
I thought it was a novel.
Did she not write one that was
Talks about different people in her family and why they have certain names and how she related to them, and then she talked about their living in this little town.
But it's
I think it's in the eastern townships. Trying to go
Definitely French.
Yes, but they treated them very, very well. Very, very well.
right, but
Anyway.
this is fiction though. It tells the story of like An Tin Nguyen is the main character. I'm just looking real quick. Autobiographical fiction.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Granby.
Granby. Okay, there you go.
Mm.
Yeah. So there was that one. That was my second one.
Mhm.
And my
And
third
both
is-
recommended so far?
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it depends if you want to read about Delia.
Always
I'm
depends on
still
whether we
feeling it,
actually
you know.
are into the story or not.
But it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was different. And the third one is by Gina Reutman, and it's called Don't Ask. This I was very, very enthralled with.
What's the story there?
The story about a woman whose mother she was not close with. The mother, how shall I say it? Well, she was from the Holocaust, and she couldn't relate to the daughter, or it seemed as though she couldn't relate to the daughter.
Mhm.
And one day, the daughter found a note that said, "I am not her." And the mother left, and she committed suicide. She walked on the street in front of a car.
Mm.
And it talks about how she looks into things from her mother's life, and mother always said that they didn't have any family, but then they found a cousin in New Jersey, and she learned a lot about her mother and things like that. But I have a feeling that there's a book 2 coming out,
Oh yeah.
because the last page, it says the beginning, when she starts to hear things from her family.
Hmm.
And she was she sold houses. She was an agent,
Mhm.
and she met this gentleman who was working from Germany, and they were going to buy something up north. They talked about all different places that I know in the Montreal area and up north in the Laurentians, and how she develops a relationship with him. And she thought she never would, because when her mother found out that she was going to Germany, the mother said, "Oh no, you can't go to Germany." Going back to, you know, the Holocaust and stuff like that. But I was fascinated by it. I couldn't put it down.
Well,
So
that's a high recommendation.
Don't Ask by Gina Reutemann. Yeah. Of the 3, I like this one the best.
Okay.
All right. That's it for me.
Thanks, Toby.
Thank you for listening. I'm sorry that I lose my words.
It
I saw
happened.
my doctor the other day at the memory clinic, and she told me not to worry about it. So I'm not going to worry about it.
I think you're in pretty good company with this group. We all of us struggle a little bit
Yeah.
I'm
from
really
time to time.
happy that somebody else doesn't have any words anymore, because I'm really losing them in 3
Drives me
languages.
crazy.
Well, when you have
really
so many
pathetic.
languages, that's
Yeah, but it's really getting bad, and my spelling is getting bad too. It's really very
Heidi, what
difficult.
about your handwriting? My handwriting is abominable. I can't even read messages I write to myself sometimes.
Oh,
really.
my children tell me I have to print because they can't read what I write.
There you go.
Mm.
Huh.
Things to look forward to.
I was gonna say things they don't tell you about. Like we're
right.
like we already have it in our heads that as we get older, especially as women, like we need to be mindful of a loss of strength and bone density, just as general human beings, is the whole like, you know, like our bodies, our minds, but like handwriting.
I'm fine, thank you. Are we going to have a date? You and I together?
I
Carol's
would
having a
love it,
Tell
date.
me,
Carol.
tell me. Yeah.
Carol with an E is going on a date.
Yeah,
Pretty
what
good.
about me?
What about you? You going on
Yeah, I
a
want to
date?
Oh,
go.
no,
I
no.
want to get together with her.
Sure. Sure. Are you working on Monday? Because it's a
I'm
holiday.
going to mute her so that
That would, that's
we
a good
don't
idea.
accidentally know too much about her life
Mm.
in case she says anything extra. All right, who's next? Who's next in the hot seat telling us what they've been
I
reading?
have to also leave a bit earlier because I have to make an appointment at the hospital.
Oh no.
Well, I think I need an MRI because that fall on my back, either I had a concussion or I have something else. I'm not doing very well.
Oh
And I'm
no.
leaving on Friday. I'm hopefully getting to Halifax.
You're gonna go to Halifax? That's good. That's Heidi said she had a couple of falls recently,
Yeah, falls
unfortunately.
within 3 weeks. Anyway, my reading wasn't very good this week. This month. I read only 2 books. One was absolutely horrible, and I don't know why I ever finished it. It's Tana French's Broken Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you hated it?
well, I find it was very unsatisfactory. It was a horrible crime, a sort
Okay.
of family crime, and very psychological with all the people that sort of are involved in it. And I find the ending was totally unsatisfactory. And then on top of it, it was 538 pages. I thought I'll never finish this thing. So I will never read another one of her books because
Okay.
most of them are long.
Mhm.
And this one was particularly bad. The other one was actually quite cheerful. It's called The Spoon Stealer
Yes, Leslie
by
Cruz.
Leslie Crew. I liked that quite a bit. It's another family story. I liked it better than the Hello Beautiful. It, it was done in a better way about a daughter that feels she was never liked by her mother and she leaves. It's during the First World War. She's going to England because one of her brothers was killed in the war and the other brother is in a hospital because he also was shot.
Mhm.
And she's going there, and when she gets there, he just has died. And she stays in England, I think, until she's in her late 60s. She never comes back because she felt the family doesn't like her anyway. And eventually she comes back and she sort of meets up with the family again, with all the children and grandchildren and the other relatives, and she sort of settles everybody. She has made quite a bit of money in England. I was very amazed. She was just a companion to people, but she made good money, especially with one woman. And it was a very satisfactory, good read. Nothing extraordinary, but it was a fun read. It was nice. And that's all I read.
So what I've heard about her and about that book in particular, I haven't read it yet, but just like well crafted. Like I've
Yeah.
heard that it's like, well, like it's not again this sort of Tana French, for example, it like it's a thriller, right? Like it's like action stuff happening and edge of your seat sort of idea behind it, right? Whereas this is like a story that goes on and there's nothing like earth shattering about it, but it's well made. Sort of like maybe is it along the lines a little bit like Ann Tyler or something? Like
I wouldn't know entirely, but I found it was just very satisfactory. There's a lot of advice that is given. The language is very nice, and it really flows. It's a book that really progresses, and at the end, it's a good ending in many ways. Eventually, she dies, but it's just one of those books that you put away and you say, nice. I had a good time reading it.
okay. That's also a high recommendation.
Yes, it
I like
really
this.
is.
We're working with gold here this month, guys. So far.
Anyway, I think I have to leave because I really have to call St. Mary's and see if I can get something.
Okay, you
So
do that.
that
I'll send the link to the recording afterwards. You can see what everyone else's recommendations were.
pardon?
I'll
Oh, yeah.
send the link to the recording afterwards,
Yeah.
and so you can see what everyone else's recommendations were. But I hope that you get an appointment sooner rather than later. You feel better and you have a nice trip to Halifax.
It's okay. It doesn't really make much difference because, I just have to work on it to get back to where I was a month ago.
Yeah. But I'm glad you came. Thanks, Heidi.
Okay. Have a good time, everybody.
Be
Bye-bye.
well, Heidi, be well.
Stay
Bye-bye.
somewhere cool because it's
Only good news.
I'm actually happy to go to Halifax. It's going to be a bit cooler there.
Good trip.
Have a
Take
good
care.
trip.
Okay, bye.
I have
Bye.
a pile of books this time.
Carol, you
Yeah.
have a pile of books?
I have a pile. The ones that I didn't send back that I didn't like, but I read The Library of Borrowed Hearts by Lucy Gilmore. And the problem is I've read so many that I can't remember what oh yeah, this one was very interesting. A man and woman correspond with each other through writing little notes in various books that they read. And it's very well researched. The author has quoted from so many different books, and they write love notes to each other. Very, very interesting. I liked it very much. The Day Shelley Woodhouse Woke Up, totally a different book. It's by Laura Pearson, and a woman who wakes up after a coma, being in a coma for a period of time. Very interesting, trying to find herself. I like that one. The Last Story of Minna Lee.
I've been curious about that one. How was that?
I enjoyed it. I've been reading. I'm only reading ones that I enjoy. You know, if I get to 50 pages and I don't enjoy it, it goes back to the library.
Yeah.
This one was very interesting. I enjoyed it. It was from the background is the Minna Lee is from Korea, and she came to the States, and it's her story. And she has a daughter who does not know her story. So it's very interesting. And it gives you some background into what it's like to be an immigrant from Korea, and how she lived in a place called Koreatown. And she didn't speak English, and I don't think she ever learned very much English, because she was surrounded by Koreans and Korean signs and Korean grocery stores. But very interesting, and the life of an immigrant, and how she didn't really talk about her background to her daughter, which was, I found, quite interesting. I'm now reading something called The Flower Sisters by Michelle Collins Anderson. And it starts off, it's very, to me, really amusing. I don't want to, no spoiler, because it's just, the first little while is very funny. The woman, the main character at this point, she also has a grandchild who becomes the main character, but they're all named with Violet, Rose, Daisy, whatever. And Rose starts off, she is an undertaker. And I found it, you know, I thought, oh, geez, now what? There was a scene, I mean, the first body was just hysterical. And then her granddaughter has dumped on her, and the granddaughter decides she wants to be a writer, a journalist, and she sells herself to this, they live in a small town, and she gets herself a job working for a local, the only paper. And she is looking through, she's been put in charge of going through the morgue. And because her grandmother is an undertaker, she went down to the morgue expecting to see dead bodies. And in fact, it was just a filing cabinet, a room full of files from the past. And very interesting. I'm enjoying that one very much. And I have others, but enough is enough.
Those are your highlights?
No, those are the first ones that I could find on my list.
What's the name of that book?
This one was called
The Flower
The
Sisters?
Flower Sisters by Anderson.
I heard
Can you say that
that's
slower? The Flower Sisters?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
That's good.
Oh, did anybody read The Cuban Heiress?
No.
It's on my list.
Yeah, I think I told you, Carol. I enjoyed that one very much. I read a lot in the past little while. So the Carolina Twins, anybody read that one by Balson?
No.
Very
Oh.
interesting, very interesting. Again, it's a Holocaust one. I'm trying
Carolina's
to get away from the
Twins.
Holocaust books, because everything seems to be Holocaust.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
thought you wanted a break from that.
I did, but I'm just listing the ones that I've read in the past while. I have about 12 or 15 of them written down that I wanted to tell you about. That's the same author as A Girl from Berlin, I believe.
Yeah, Carolina's Twins by
Yeah,
Ronald Balson.
Yeah.
I think I read that, but I can't remember. Could you just remind me what it's about,
I was
Carol?
afraid you'd ask me that. The Girl from Berlin, I'd have to look it up because I don't remember.
No, the Carolina Twins.
Oh, too many spoilers. I don't want to ruin it.
Okay.
Very, very interesting.
Send me an email.
No, well, you
Okay.
know what? Katie will send us a list.
From the author
Okay.
of Once We Were Brothers comes a saga inspired by true events of a Holocaust survivor's quest to fulfill a promise, return to Poland, and find two sisters lost during World War II.
Yeah.
Lena Woodward, an elderly woman, enlists the help of both lawyer Catherine Lockhart and private investigator Liam Taggart. Those are characters that came across
Oh, from others
in some of
before,
his
eh?
other books.
Yeah.
To appraise the story of her harrowing past in Nazi-occupied Poland. At the same time, Lena's son Arthur presents her with a hefty lawsuit under the pretense of garnering her estate and independence for his own purposes. Where these stories intersect is through Lena's dubious account of her life in war-torn Poland and her sisterhood with a childhood friend named Carolina. Lena and Carolina struggled to live through the atrocity of the Holocaust and at the same time harbored a courageous yet mysterious secret of maternity that has troubled Lena throughout her adult life. In telling her story to Catherine and Liam, Lena not only exposes the realities of overcoming the horrors of the Holocaust, she also comes to terms with her own connection to her dark past.
Really a good read. I thought a good read. And the last one I'll discuss or mention is The Lost Dresses of Italy. And it's by M.A. McLaughlin, McLaughlin.
Mhm.
And also very interesting, has to do with setting up in a museum a display of dresses and it's very interesting. I found Victorian dresses and it just, there's such easy reads. There are no mind, really good summer stuff. It's like what you should read in, that garden thing that we do at the library coming up in July. These are all
You got to
garden
read
books.
this.
Yeah, you got to read this because you don't really need a brain to read it. You don't have to concentrate. It's not, I didn't even think about, is the language good? Is it writing great? It was just they were all very fast reads.
Well, this is it, right? Is that it depends what we're in the mood for, right? Sometimes we want
Right.
something that's just we're going to get lost in it. It's sort of just it's better than watching a movie a lot of the time, but it might do that same sort of like not necessarily things that are going to stick with us. And
Right.
other times we have things that we want, to be more thought provoking and to get us moving on different trains of thought instead.
Who recommended those books to you, Carol? How did you know to
I
choose them?
went on Hoopla and what I could find because I take my phone with me when I stand in line at the bank or stand in line at, the checkout counter or something. So it was just whatever I was able to get. And some of them say borrow, so I borrow right away. Others you're on hold forever.
Oh,
And
so that would be on Cloud Library.
most of them are either the Cloud Library or no, I think they're all Hooplas.
Hoopla, all of the Hooplas you can borrow right away.
Yeah, well,
You never have to do a wait list on Hoopla. They don't do wait lists for Hoopla. So that's why
Okay.
as Cloud Library, that one you have to sometimes you have to wait.
Absolutely.
I'm on a waiting list for I'm on a
I
waiting
have to
list for
read.
2 for 4 months. 4
Oh,
months.
do you know that one of them, Barbara Streisand book, I thought I'd give it a shot because Rona said, and then I thought, oh no, I can't wade through it. But it was something like a year's wait list or something crazy.
Yeah.
That,
I think with that one, I don't think that I could read it. I mean, I'd wanna look at the physical book because there must be pictures, right? But I think that if I were to read it, I would listen to it.
Well, that's a good
That's what I
idea.
did. That's what I did.
Okay, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. I had the book. It weighs 20 pounds.
at least.
But the pictures were fabulous. And then another friend who's not in this book club said, I'll send you the ebooks. You could read it online. I said, okay, but I keep forgetting. But now I think I'm going to do the audio. Thank you.
Yeah, I think
And do the audio
read
when she reads it.
Did
Well,
she
that's
read
it.
it?
Her voice.
Yeah, she reads it, but
Okay.
it's long. Like it's still
It's
long,
very long.
right? Like I think it's 48 hours long or something like that. Like
I skipped certain parts. I don't need to know when she went out for lunch with this director and this producer.
Right,
and stuff
right.
like that,
and yet some of those stories, I mean, I don't know about Barbara's, but some stories like that are just so wonderful, right? Like Meryl Streep has a great story of when she auditioned for
Yeah. Yeah.
she auditioned for
Tom,
King Kong. And I can't remember the director, this Italian guy, and he said in Italian, he said to someone who was with them, he was like, she's too ugly. And Meryl Streep speaks Italian. She was like, "Oh, I'm sorry that you think I'm so ugly
Ah,
that I
good for
can't
her.
play opposite King
I'm
Kong."
sorry, I'm sorry, ladies. I have to leave now. Please excuse me. And I'll
Off you
see you
go.
again next time.
Nice to
Okay.
see you, Toby. I'll
nice to
send
see
the
you.
link.
Have a good day. Have a good day.
Thanks.
too.
Nice to see you, Toby.
Stay
Be well.
cool.
Stay cool for sure.
All right. Carol with an E, you're
Yeah.
checked. Do you have
Pardon?
more? Do you have more?
I have more, but a new author for me is
I'm going to interrupt Carol with an E for a moment because she's
yeah.
recommending like quite a few books that she's read that she's liked, because I've received a flurry of emails from Carol with an E saying how everything is terrible and she's not reading anything good.
There you
Now I'm
go.
like, well, when did you read these?
Between the ones that I didn't like. Lapina, is her name Shari Lapina?
Yeah.
Oh, she's good. She's
Thriller.
Canadian.
Lots of good, yeah, lots of easy reads. I'm into easy reads. It's summer. I sit outside and I read. I can't concentrate.
Well, this is
Exactly.
the time of year for it. And especially like you mentioned, having, 'cause I do the same thing, having books on your phone as
Mhm.
well as reading sort of physical books, because like, again, when you're standing in a line, then you always have your phone with you. So that's same thing. And they're those kinds of books. I think it's best to have these easy reads like that because you can dip in and dip out without
That's
it
right.
being, without
Exactly.
losing any sort of train of, yeah.
I would be interested in knowing how many pages on your phone the Barbara book is.
It
Can you
depends.
imagine?
It depends on the
1,000.
size of the print. It just depends on the size of your screen.
Oh,
So some people will have
yeah,
their print be like yay
that's right.
big,
Yeah,
and other people it's huge.
right.
Yeah. So that depends.
Anyhow, I have more, but could you just tell me one thing? There's a book called Trust by someone
Yes.
whose name is Diaz.
Yep. I did a review of it in this group like a year or two ago when it first came out,
Oh, really? Because
but I
I
don't
read
remember
it
what it was
again.
about offhand.
Well,
But yeah.
Janine just reviewed it, and unfortunately, it was a Jewish holiday, so I couldn't go.
Well,
But
she didn't review it. She had it for her book club,
we
no?
had a book club. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a book club, and I wasn't. And she doesn't tape her clubs, and it was a book that had me very confused, going from one era
Section
to another. And I found it very interesting, but I would love somebody to tell me what the story was. Anyhow, that one was a good read, but you had to concentrate.
Yeah, that one might be less of a summer read, more of
Yeah.
a like fall into winter.
Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, that's it for me now. I have more, but let somebody else.
Well, I have a sneaking suspicion that Carol without an E might have been reading one or two books
Absolutely.
recently.
Well, like Carol with an E, I had trouble getting into books. So even though I got them and they were on reserve and it was my turn, I couldn't get into them. So I thought, you know what? Bring them back. I put them on a list. I have a whole list. If I live to 120, I'll be able to read them. But I thought, you know what? So I went back to my thrillers. And of course, Frida McFadden, she's a brain surgeon in the States, and she's written like 15 thrillers. So I started with The Housemaid, which was fabulous, and I
Is it
loved
called
the
The
ending.
Housemaid or The Housekeeper? I feel like, I mean, it's such a
There's
silly
one of
Housemaid.
each.
I can look it
It's
up.
The Housemaid, and then it's The Housemaid Secret, and they were thrillers because you're trying to figure out who, where, what's happening, like whatever. And I could read it in 3 days, which is really amazing. And then I picked up the one that was called Secret, The Locked Door. Oh, the wife upstairs. And again, I was reading it and I liked it, page turner. When I got to the end, I couldn't believe it. I would like to think that the editors made her change it. It was so crappy that I went on to Google and somebody was given the book and she said everything I did. She said at the end, I threw my arms up in the air. It was so lame and so unlike her. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I have two more of hers. The library has them in paperback, which is fine that they have them because they're really enjoyable.
This is Rachel Hawkins now, right?
No.
The wife
I never.
upstairs?
Oh
Or is
yes,
that-
somebody else has that title, but this is Frida McFadden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I looked it up and I couldn't believe there was another author with the same title.
Okay.
I read Frida.
So you've
yeah.
just been Frida McFaddening.
Yeah.
McFaddening.
Yeah, right. And then I read The Locked Door by her. So that was good. That was very good. And then a book came through for me, Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame. It was delightful. A 77-year-old British woman who never really felt she accomplished anything, but she baked and baked every day. She decided secretly to apply for Britain Bakes. And sure enough, and it tells you how she went through, and her husband says she kept it from him, and they were childless and married, I think, like 30, 40 years. And he thought she was having an affair because when she had to go for the interviews, and she was very secretive. Anyway, of course, she gets accepted, and then she meets a young fella, and they become friends, and it just goes on. And she wins some of the. Well, I don't want to give it away because it's entertaining, and of course, just to keep you going with it, she has a secret, but they don't tell you what it is. So every once in a while, they go back and they talk about like her youth, and you can sort of figure out what it
Start
was.
piecing things together.
Yeah, and then finally, she does say what it is while she's still in the competition, and it was delightful, and it was a lovely ending. So I highly recommend Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame.
That sounds up my alley. Definitely for
Sounds
a
like
summer
summer
read. I'm
reading.
adding that to my
Exactly. Yeah,
to my list.
exactly. So did I discuss the women last time? I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
A little
Okay,
bit.
thank you. That's it.
That was
No
fabulous.
repeat.
Yeah.
Pardon?
That was fabulous. It was,
Oh, right.
I
Now I
recommended
remember
it to you, Carol. It was
That's
about
right.
the
You
nurses.
thought it was great, and
Yeah.
I'm not the only one who was disappointed. Again,
Yeah.
I went on Google, and people also felt, even though it was very informative, okay, but her love life, and like, I don't know if anybody, I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but it was like, are you okay with it if I say it? No, people, yeah.
Nah.
Okay, so one of
Nah.
her boyfriends, he was killed, and then at the end, he comes back. He wasn't really dead. And it was like so ridiculous. Again, stupid ending. So that was it. That's it for me. Now I'm back into my thrillers. And most of the books that I've put on reserve, first I was number 7 and 14. All of a sudden, they're all coming in. Well, I can't read 7 books in 3 weeks.
Well, pause it. You can freeze it in your
I
profile.
do.
Yeah.
But here's your system now. If I say, put it on hold, if I don't give a date, it's just suspended.
Yeah.
So if it's suspended, which doesn't mean freeze, I'm not in the list. So let's say I was 7. So
You
unless they give,
You're still on the list. It's just that then you have to unsuspend it.
yeah, but then I
So-
go to the end of the list. I go to the end. I wouldn't be. So now I give them August 3rd, August 8th, pick a date. Karen told me, I was just in on Sunday. Karen was there, and she explained it to me. Unless I give them a date, it's just on suspend.
Well, then stop sleeping at night, for heaven's sakes, and stop
Oh.
drawing and read. What's your problem?
Yeah, and just to tell you, Carol, okay, so the one, The Locked Door, or the other one, I read, and then I went to sleep, and I tossed and turned. I got up at 2, 3 in the morning. I thought, this is ridiculous. I kept reading and reading. And I thought, I'm not doing that again. I'm not reading any thrillers at night.
That's funny.
So speaking of not sleeping, um, I had this realization about 2 weeks ago that apparently I've been somewhat, I haven't been getting enough sleep for like the last 5 years. And so
Okay.
so I've made it a priority. It's only been like 2, 3 weeks that I've been trying to make it a priority to sleep, like 7 hours a night. Um, because I realized that I had been like for the last, few years, really averaging at 4 or 5, which is not good. And I already have a terrible memory, and I know that those things are related. So this is my attempts. However, last night I decided to read a book from start to finish, and so I got off my sleep schedule a little bit. But it was a fun summer read. It's called Hello Girls. And I don't know because I found it on Cloud Library. I was looking for something light, and it's written by two authors. One of them is Emily Henry, who you guys might know. That's she writes a lot of romance novels. This is not a romance novel. I'm just trying to get the other author's name. Uh, Brittany Cavallaro and Emily Henry is who wrote it. And it's I'm not sure if it's a youth fiction or not, because it's like the two main characters are 17 and 18 years old. But it's sort of like Thelma and Louise, which very shockingly for me, I still have never seen. But it's sort of like a Thelma and Louise kind of storyline of these two girls who end up sort of going off script, we'll say, and road trip and stuff. And it was really fun. It was a very, very fun read. So I recommend that. But I was up until like 1 o'clock
Well,
finishing
it,
that.
it doesn't, I just put my name down for it and it's not listed. We don't have it in the library.
Hello Girls. I don't know. I got it on Cloud Library,
Ah, okay.
but I did just return it
Oh,
this
okay.
morning. So it is available if you feel like a bit of a fun, fast read. My meteor read, I won't talk about any of my book, like you guys know I do book clubs for some of the residences in Cote-Saint-Luc. And so I've done those, but my somewhat meteor read was a book that was recommended to me by a patron, and it was already kind of I'd read a review about it at some point, so it was in my sort of long list of things that eventually maybe I'll get to reading. But then it was recommended to me. No, oh, you have to read it, I was told. And so I put it on my list for after my last book club ended, so that because I'm not allowed to read whatever I want to read whenever I want to read it, right? So this one is uh, The Most Fun We Ever Had by Claire Lombardo. Now, it's it's a family story, and it is similar but different to from Hello Beautiful, but it's a family with 4 daughters. And oh, I loved it. Like the patron who recommended it to me, like she just had my number, I think. It was I really enjoyable, the different way, like there's a little bit of family secrets in it. There's a little bit about like the parents relationship as well as the daughters. There's another kid who was had when one of the daughters was a teenager. He's integrated into it. I'm not ruining anything because we meet him in the first like couple of chapters. And one thing that I found really interesting was how each of the kids sort of like compare themselves to their parents and then also to each other. Anyway, Claire Lombardo is The Most Fun We Ever Had. I was disappointed when it ended. but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well written, and I'm definitely going to read more Claire Lombardo. I think she just came out with a new book. And then I've been reading a lot of garbage in between my book club books. Carol with an E, you were talking about an undertaker, so I'm going to mention another book that I read called The Dead Romantics, and I want to say it's by Ashley Poston, maybe. Let me just look it up real quick. And it's a romance, which is why I'm telling you guys, because Carol, I know you like romances. And there's
Ashley
Ashley
Poston.
Poston. Yeah. And so the main character is a ghostwriter for a romance novelist, and then her dad dies. And so she goes back to her family home, and her dad was an undertaker, like has a funeral home. And she's back into the fold of her family, who she shockingly, this was something that I found really nice, is that she goes into it. So many stories of like someone returning home, it's like, oh, there was distance and there was like everything's fraught, and it wasn't like, oh, everything's fraught. It was like, oh, I get to go home. But when she goes home, you also find out that she seems to have inherited this thing that her dad had, where he could see ghosts. Sometimes ghosts would come and visit him and talk to him and stuff, and she has that as well. But anyway, it was and there is a romance element to the story, and it was just kind of sweet and feel good. It's a good that kind of novel. And then I have Hamnet and Judith to look forward to, which I'm looking forward to. That one is Shakespeare. It's like Shakespeare's kids. And then the other book that I'm reading right now, but I'm in the middle of, is The Diamond Eye for a book club, Kate Quinn's.
Oh, that should be good.
Hmm.
Good.
Yeah, Lady Death. So I like stuff about assassins and stuff.
What's it called?
It's called The Diamond Eye.
The Diamond Eye.
Hmm.
Is she a Russian?
A Russian assassin, sniper.
Right. Oh, I read most of it. And then
Mhm.
she was friends with Eleanor Roosevelt.
That's how it opens. Like
Right.
I'm early into it because, like I said, I was reading other things when I should have been probably doing my homework. But
Could I ask you where you are? I can't figure out your background. You have a
I'm at
bunch of
I'm at
books.
my desk.
This is your house?
No, my desk at the library. I'm in
But
the
where are you?
basement.
Oh, because I see a bookshelf on the left, but then the other stuff, yeah, well, you're right, my
Am
left.
I right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
behind me, then some paintings from and pictures of that my kids made.
Oh, so this is when you go through those doors, you come down the stairs and that door slams. You're in that area?
Yeah, but in the locked area where
Never
I
saw
don't
it.
know if
That's
you've
why I'm
been.
wondering where I
Carol
couldn't
with
figure
an
out.
E has been into the inner
Oh,
sanctum
well, she's special.
Oh,
She's
yeah, right.
when she's
well,
sorting through the
she
500
sorts a
million
lot. She does
boxes
a
of
lot.
books. Yeah,
Okay, well, it's nice
exactly.
down there. Okay, because sometimes when some of you open the doors, I don't really see
I
anything.
mean,
It just
it's a basement. Like it's not it's a basement. But
but
I'll tell you what is very nice down here. Air conditioning.
yeah.
So I do not have air conditioning at home. We have one portable AC unit that is in the room where the kids sleep. And
Mhm.
so we don't have air conditioning at home. I don't have air conditioning in my car. I'm like happy to come to work.
I just want to say it looks really nice because I see you have an orange and a yellow table. You have a sculpture, whatever I'm looking at. That's why I couldn't figure out where you were because I couldn't recognize the space. Anyway, good for you.
Thank you. Oh, well, we have a short meeting today.
Good. Yeah, that's good for me.
But I
Okay.
think it's good, like for us to, I think we covered a lot of ground. We had thrillers, we had kind of easier reads, we had family stories, we had memoirs, we had a little bit of everything
Right, right.
to keep us occupied and out of
Mm.
trouble and out of the heat and in the air conditioning. Things to keep
Absolutely.
us busy.
Okie dokie.